Hey everyone, I'm Brent Gann, PDGA number 102078, president of Bay County Disc Golf Club and member of Team Flight Factory, and this is my 2022 in the bag. '22 is going to be a fun season for me. Midway through 2021, I actually changed over from throwing an all Prodigy bag to throwing a mixed bag. So I'm really excited to do that for an entire season. Really comfortable, been working on this bag for about 6 months now. Really comfortable with what I'm throwing. Have really distilled down to the molds I like, carry two of a lot of everything. So really excited to kind of show you guys what I'll be throwing. First, before I talk about like what I'm carrying and what I'm carrying it in, I do want to talk about like what I wear playing disc golf. One of the questions I get a lot from people who are new to disc golf is, hey, what do I wear? Like, what are the things that are comfortable? And I think comfortable is the key, right? You want to get something that's real comfortable. I wear trail running shoes for when I play. I find the durability compiled with like the lugs for when you're climbing things, and then the athletic feel just gives me a nice balance for what I'm looking for when playing disc golf. I'm wearing the Nike Pegasus Trail 3s. I got a pair of regular and a pair in Gore-Tex for the wet rounds, but really love these. I wear them. They're more narrow, so I have narrow feet, so they fit really nicely. And just really good. So if you're not sure, go try on a bunch of trail shoes. If you have an REI, that's a great place to go, and just see if you can find something that's comfortable but also provides the support and cushioning that you need. For jerseys, I will be wearing these custom VII jerseys with a Team Flight Factory on the back. These are FSU inspired. I worked with them to kind of come up with a custom design that I really liked, and this was the result. I'm very happy with them. We also did our Bay County Disc Golf Club jerseys through them, and I got one of those that I'll be wearing for tournaments. And then we got some black ones of those coming on the way. So really excited to rep Team Flight Factory and Bay County Disc Golf Club when I play tournaments this year. Moving on to what I will be carrying my discs in, really got two options here. For like those wooded rounds, probably the majority of the tournaments I play, I'll be carrying this Pound Octothorpe. Custom colorway with the garnet up top and the tan bottom. Kind of matches the vibe of things I have going on. Really love this bag though. It's got plenty of room for discs, 2 water bottles on the side. You can hold like 32-ounce Hydro Flask, Gatorades, whatever. It's got a bladder, or space for a bladder in here. I don't have one in here now, but I have a Hydro Pack that I'll put in here sometimes. Space for discs on the side. Pockets are deep enough. You can put a jacket, towels, whatever in here. Phone pocket, pencils, putter pocket at the top, mini pocket. It's really just got everything you can imagine you would need. It even has an umbrella holder, which is like now after playing a couple of wet tournaments, a non-negotiable for me. I've got a retriever in there right now, but if it's wet, I'm definitely putting an umbrella in there, which is a great thing to have if the bottom falls out. If it's more open, flat, one of those tournaments where I can bring the cart and feel comfortable, I don't have to carry it or walk it over roots or risk a wheel getting damaged, the Ridge Roller is what I'm bringing. So this R3 has been awesome. The box has plenty of room for discs. I can carry actually a couple more discs than I can in my Pound in this cart with its current configuration. We got a putter pouch here on the front with a mini holder, the Prodigy pouch on the back side. I've got a cooler back here that'll hold up to like 4 Gatorades or Powerades or waters in there. It also has space for another disc, which I have an Innova Condor in there right now. It'll hold my retriever via these like bike flashlight holders, and then plenty of attachment points for tags, towels, whale sack here. Just really awesome cart, really loving that. And then I have this toolbox here. So the toolbox is my backups. I keep a set of backups for just about everything I throw in here, so that when I'm going to a tournament, I grab the bag or the cart and the toolbox, and I know if something goes wrong, I skin up a disc or lose a disc, I've got a backup that I can throw for the second round. All right, so moving on to what I will be throwing and what's in the bag. First, let's talk a couple of accessories that I have that I love. Friction glove, can't play a wet round without it now. Really hard to grip. I throw a lot of forehands, and forehands are hard to grip in the rain with wet hands. So I keep a friction glove in the bag. Really loving that. And then I've also become a fan of the rangefinder. So I've got a Bushnell here in this pocket on the other side that I will move around. There it is. So I've got a Bushnell. This is an older one before they did the feet and sports ones. But overall really good. Just multiply by 3 and that's your distance. Been really helpful for tracking down, especially in open courses. In the woods, I don't really use it a lot, but in open courses, sometimes you want to know where your landing zones are at. It's hard to judge. So this thing stays in the bag, and I use it a good bit on open courses. And then we also, minis, kind of an accessory. We've got these metal minis made for our upcoming Bay County Kickoff Tournament. So this mini is awesome. Like, I really love the metal mini feel. It has good shine to it. So this will be what I'll be carrying this year and dropping down. Let's move on to the discs. So I'll start with putters. I'm going to start off with my putting putters here. So I've got these 300 plastic PA3s with the Flight Factory stamp on them. Man, I love these putters. I actually have 4 of this same putter set. The other 2 are actually in my cart right now, but I rotate between them, kind of keep them seasoned the same way. PA3s are awesome. You can put them on a little bit of ante, they'll finish flat. They'll hold a flat. You can throw them on a hyzer, they'll hold a hyzer. I use these for circle 2, circle 1. Basically anything but a headwind putt. I'm really comfortable with these. Headwind putt, I'll break out something like an A2. But really love these putters. They've got enough stability where I can flick them on like a big ante line. But been throwing PA3s for a while and really don't see myself changing putters anytime soon, just because I putt really well with them and really like the feel of them and the little bead on them. For approaches, I have changed that. I used to approach with premium PA3s, but I've been throwing the Berg and really love it. So this is a Casoplast Berg. I've got one in K1 Soft and K3. The K3 is more of a baseline plastic, so sometimes I'll putt with this if like there's a weird wind and I'm concerned about a rollaway. I have a little more confidence that this will sit flat compared to a PA3. And this thing is just straight. I mean, it is dead straight. The stability is more down than left, which is really nice. You can throw it on stall antes. Really just a disc that I've come to really enjoy throwing. And then this K1 Soft is real gummy, so it folds up really easily. So it sits down nice. It doesn't get a lot of bad rollaways. I was putting with a K1 and was getting some weird, like if it hit the cage, it'd roll away. So went to the K1 Soft and have not had any problems. So really can rip on this, throw it well. Really, if I'm like 200 and in, a lot of times I would be looking on like, is this a Berg shot? Just because it's something I can trust that if I get it back to the basket, it's gonna sit up under it. And then my favorite throwing putter for like turnovers is a PA4. So been throwing a PA4 for a while. It was my first Prodigy disc from the I think the 2018 Fairhope Jubilee. I got a PA4 and I've had one in the bag since. Really my favorite rim on a putter, just like fits nicely in the hand and is going to be really consistent with like this long arcing turnover. You can throw it on a lot of hyzer and get a straight flight out of it, but really great disc. PA4s are awesome, and I tell everybody you should have a PA4 and an M4, which I'll get to in a minute. Moving on to like the overstable approach putter slot is the 300 plastic A2. So these A2s have been in the bag for a bit. I usually keep one really beat in for throwing on real ante shots that are going to land flat, that'll hold the ante through the woods, and then one that's a little bit more new for throwing on just like hyzer and letting it come back around. So really trust these discs. If I'm looking like 240, like this blue one is just automatic. I know I can pump it out there and let it finish back in. We'll occasionally throw them on backhand. I only carry them in baseline. I don't really like the feel of the more premium plastic A2s. The rim is just a little too aggressive for how I prefer to throw them, but really love throwing these on flicks and backhand approaches, and really awesome discs. To replace the premium A2s that I took out of the bag, I put 2 Justices in the bag. So I have this one here, which is in like the glimmer plastic, that's got a little bit of like metal flake to it. And then this one here, which is Lucid X. It's like a cinnamon candy color, and it is flat. So this thing is crazy overstable. It's my really just go-to for a chop forehand that's gonna cut back hard, or skip shots in that like mid-range. And this one's a little bit more straight to stay overstable, so I can really get this one out and let it finish back hard. Headwinds, these things are absolute go-tos. They are absolutely just money in headwinds because they are going to fly straight and then come back depending on the shot shape I need. But really love these 2 discs. Excited to put a Justice back in the bag. I was throwing Moonshines before I went to Prodigy, and this was a disc that I knew I really wanted to put back in the bag. Moving on to the mids here, I bagged 2 EMAC Truths. So I have this orange, I think it's triple stamped from our Majet Ironman. It was a very heavy stamp, so you can see there's not really much there. You can see a little Flight Factory logo and the DD logo, and that's about it. But really love these. This one's in Fusion plastic, and then this is a Lucid X Eric McCabe Team Series from 2021. This one's got some nice stability to it, so I can really rip on it, trust that it's going to come back left. It's not going to turn over unless there's a real big headwind, so really comfortable. And then this one's straight. I can get some turn out of it. A little like grippy, so one I also like to grab if like I'm not really sure about my hands, maybe a little wet from moisture in the woods or something, lands in some leaves. But really love both these discs. They kind of this one's just a little bit more stable than this one, which makes for like a perfect complement, and have been throwing both of these a whole lot. When I kind of step down in stability, so as you can see, my bag's kind of organized from speed and then stability. So my step down in stability is an M4. M4 is probably my favorite mid. The EMAC Truth is close, but I've been throwing these for a bit. I've got this Matty O M4, so shout out to Matty O and his new West Side deal. Really excited for him. But yeah, this is in 500 plastic, has some nice stability. It's a bit closer to that Fusion EMAC, but this one's going to finish a little bit more consistently where the Fusion will turn. And then this is more flippy. This is a Kilovisca Spaceman M4. These things are awesome. I wish I would have bought 100 of them because they're hard to find now. But it's real domey, got a nice little pop top to it. This thing will hold an ante forever. So where like the pink EMAC, it's this one, then the orange EMAC and this. That's kind of how these set up in stability. But really love throwing both these. This M4 gets a little less throw time now because I've really just fell in love with this white like Spaceman one and throwing turnovers with it. But this M4 is just something consistent. I know I can pipe on it and it flies dead straight for a good way. So I really love the M4. One more disc I bag that I don't think a lot of people bag anymore is this 400G M5. So the M5 is I believe, out of production disc now. I've got a few of them, so I'm really careful how I throw them. But I've not really found a replacement for this. Looking at some of the Discraft mids to probably replace this when these finally meet their end of life. But this disc is understable. You can really pipe on it and put on a ton of hyzer, and then it will flip up and carry the ante for long ways. And then you can power down on it, which is what I use it a lot for. It's like real short, weird shots where like I need like a quick like cut back where it'll like turn and then fade in flat, but I need that like real quick. This is great because it's a little bit faster than a PA4, but a similar flight with probably a little more understability. So it'll hold a little bit better. You can throw it on more hyzer. I've thrown this thing almost straight up and down and got it to flip up to flat and just carry and push like an M4 would. So really fun disc. Love it. The double bead on it there, so you probably can't see it there, but there's like a double bead on it or like an inverted bead. Very weird feeling disc, but one that I absolutely love throwing in the woods. Moving on to fairways. So in my sort of like overstable fairway or stable fairway, I've got these rivals. I say overstable because this Pinnacle rival here, so I've got a Pinnacle and an Icon. This Pinnacle one's really overstable, so it's like a T-Bird 3 on steroids type stability. So more stable than the numbers would suggest for a rival. Really love it. It's kind of like a gummier Champion plastic in terms of feel with a new Pinnacle plastic. But really, I can throw this thing on a skip shot and trust it's coming back. Really love throwing the rival. And then this Icon with a Flight Factory stamp, I throw this thing straight. So I'll pull on this thing, a little bit of hyzer, it'll flip up flat. If I throw it flat, it'll get the full, like a little bit of turn and full flight out of it. But the rival is, I've played a couple rounds this weekend, and the rival is just becoming a disc I throw more and more. Sticking with a 7-speed in the straighter fairways to understable, I've got these two F5s. So I got an F5 in 500 plastic and one in 400G. This one has the Flight Factory Halloween Troll stamp on it. But this 500 one, dead straight. So it's dead straight, a little bit of left finish. This purpley Flight Factory one is going to have a little bit more turn to it. So if I pipe on it real hard, throw it flat, it'll turn, come back, and finish probably like 10 degrees right of where I threw it. I usually throw this one on hyzer, let it just fly, get a little bit of turn, and land basically directly in front of where I threw it. And then this 500 one, I'd usually just release it flat. It's generally, if I have to pipe a line and it's a little bit longer than my M4, this 500 F5 is absolutely money for those. And then one more fairway at the 7-speed. Another disc that I don't think a lot of people throw, but I like having understable discs in the bag for you never know when you need them. So this is an F7 in 400G plastic, real understable. So this is one that there's a hole at Brine Springs in Huntsville. It like goes straight for, I don't know, 80 feet and then turns right the rest of the way to the basket. And this is one I'll throw on a little bit of hyzer, it'll flip up flat, and then it'll actually keep carrying over, so it'll finish more right. So if you're looking for something that has like a straight to right finish when you throw in a hyzer, this disc is that. I know some people throw them on rollers. I've not actually tried that yet, but I could see it. I mean, I think if you threw it over, it would hold it all the way to the ground, and you get a nice roll out of it. But really love the F7 in the woods. Don't throw it a lot on open courses just because it's so understable. Stepping up to overstable fairways that are a little bit faster, I have 2 Firebirds in the bag. So these are 2021 Sexton Firebirds. Man, Nate Sexton is one of the coolest dudes in disc golf and has one of the coolest discs. These things are awesome. The 21s have nice flight. They're not stupid overstable, which is not what I want out of a Firebird. I want something I can, if I throw it on an Annie, it'll carry the Annie and come back consistently. If I throw it on hyzer, hold the hyzer and go. And if I throw it flat, I want it to push. And these discs do exactly that. Really happy. The Firebird was a disc that I threw a lot of. I used to throw some like FAF, for those who know what that means, but really flat Firebirds before I went to Prodigy, and really like don't need that much stability anymore. Like you can throw it on hyzer and you'll get that stability out of these. So really love this run of the Sexton Firebird. Love these in the bag. Love the like new like variants in colors, but I've got, as you can see, I've got the pretty standard color glow blue here. All right, moving on to distance drivers. So starting off with these, I've got these Wraiths. So I've got a Double G Garrett Girthy Halo Wraith. Love this. And then this is just like a factory second, pretty flat Star Wraith. So the Double Gs, if you're not throwing one, much more stable, like overstable than a Wraith normally is, which is awesome. Love it. It sort of fits between like this and my Destroyers. Really love throwing this thing on forehand. I don't really ever throw it on backhand, but forehands, I know I'm going to get a little bit of turn. It's going to finish hard right. Can absolutely mash this disc. And then this is probably my furthest forehand disc is this factory second Wraith. This thing, I can throw it on hyzer, it'll flip up carry. If I got a good tailwind, I can throw it flat, it'll turn and come back. I've got this thing out to a little over 400 on a forehand pretty consistently when I've got open field and good conditions. But really love throwing the Wraith. This, like the Star plastic is just awesome. It's real grippy and carries very nice. And Wraiths give a good flight. This factory second, I also throw backhand, get it flip flat, carry, push down the course a good bit. Moving on to Destroyers. I mentioned Destroyers. I bagged 2, both with a Flight Factory stamp here. So these are both Star Destroyers. This one's been in the bag for, and the water, as you can see, it's a little dirty. So this one's been in the bag for probably about 6 months. This one's relatively new. And I generally keep one that's a little more beat in, that I know I'm gonna get a consistent flip out of. And then I like one that's crisp so that I can throw this thing on real aggressive shots, hyzers and headwinds type thing. And that way I know it's coming back. So these things are both terrific. I throw them a ton on longer shots. Really comfortable with them. This one I threw on hole 18 at Tom Brown a couple days ago, and threw it on a big Annie around the first trees on hole 18 from the short pad. If you played Tom Brown, there's like 2 trees and the hole goes there's like 600 plus feet, par 4. And I threw it out wide and got about 400 on the shot because it came around under the ceiling, skipped back into the opening, and gave myself a really good look at the next shot. And then this one's a really, like I said, just consistent. Throw it on hyzer, let it come back. Moving to like understable drivers in that sort of 12 speed. I bagged 2. I bagged this D4 and a D4 Max. So this D4 is 400G. This is a 165 gram, so a little bit lighter. Everything else is pretty much max weight. And then this max weight D4 Max. D4 Max I love. I wish they made more of these, but they stopped, and so I'm gonna miss it when I have to eventually replace it with something that's not a D4 Max. All of my D4 Maxes are flat, like they rim up and they come real flat at the top, which gives them more stability than the numbers would suggest, but they also still have the good turn. So this is one I can throw flat. It's probably my furthest backhand disc. I can throw flat, it'll flip up, it will just push forever and then finish back left. If I throw it real flat, it'll get a nice turn and finish back. But really love the flight of this D4 Max with the flatter flight plate. And then this D4 is real understable. This is what I throw on big Annies, anything where I need a lot of turn out of it. This thing flies pretty true to what you expect a D4 to fly. It carries right and right and right, and then finishes left pretty softly at the end of the flight. But I really love this 400G. Love them in a bit lighter weight so that I can really get them up, and that allows me to throw them on more hyzer and really get that full flight of them still. But I've been throwing these in like the 160 range for the last bit and really love the D4 there. Moving on to my 13 speeds here, kind of the X series. I'm gonna do these in the opposite direction. So starting with the most understable. This is an X3 in 500 plastic, Katrina Allen signature. This thing is flippy. So this thing is something I throw on big any forehands where like it's gonna just carry and just land real flat. Don't really throw it on a lot of backhands anymore. It sort of overlaps with a D4 for that shot. But this thing has just enough stability where it'll fight out of the big ante, where the D4, if I throw it on a flick, it's cut rolling. Like it might actually land on its faceplate. So really stoked with this. Been bagging this for a little bit now. Had some Color Glow X3s that were a little more stable than I liked. I also throw this on like overhand shots. Just the understability gives it a lot of movement and pan, and generally if I'm throwing those, I need a lot of movement and pan. So really love these X3s in this 500 Signature Series plastic. Stepping down, or moving to a little more overstable, bag 2 X2s, so I've got this 500 plastic. This one with the fairy stamp's the same run as the first runs, so real overstable. And then this is an old 400 X2. I really like the old 400 plastic. It's a little more gummy. They come out a little bit flatter, a little bit more consistent stability. These things, in theory, overlap with the destroyers I have, but really give me a different flight. They kind of fit, kind of like how my M4s in Truth sit kind of on the sides of them. These do too. This is between the green and the pink. It's got a just ton of power behind it where it'll fly straight and finish back in. It's also a little more skippy than the destroyer, so I'll throw this more on a skip shot generally. And then this X2 is the second most overstable disc in my bag. Maybe third if you include that Red Justice, but it's right there around it. But really trusty that if I throw it flat, it's gonna finish right. Really good headwind flick disc. Good for like utility forehand rollers where you need to get around left fast. But yeah, these two discs, man, I love the X2. I keep saying I'm gonna like go X2 or destroyer, but I like the destroyer backhand more than the X2, and then also for longer, like bigger flight forehands. But the thinner rim on these X Series discs just really caters to getting a good grip on it when you really want to rip a forehand. And the last disc is my X1. X1's kind of a, if you know, you know type disc, 750 plastic, really flat, crazy overstable. By far the most overstable disc I've thrown or in my bag. They were all running like 2014, so this was they did a big star a couple years ago stamp on some that they found in the warehouse. Really just a great disc. Use this a lot for just like real aggressive forehands, real aggressive hyzer backhands. It's coming back, so you can throw it on chop forehands and it will finish right even. It's not just gonna land flat, but finish right. Forehand rollers also sometimes gets used for overhands where like I have the flippy X3 here that I'll use for overhands. This X1 kind of sit on opposite ends of the stability spectrum, so they get used a lot. But really happy with the X1. I've got a few of them bagged throughout, but love throwing them. I also have like a 2014 Proto with a jelly bean stamp that is significantly more overstable than this one or any of the other ones. So it all depends on what you want to do. But X1s are awesome. Definitely everyone should bag one. Thanks everyone for checking out my 2022 in the bag. Huge shout out to Flight Factory for another year being on the team. Excited about that. Everyone in Bay County Disc Golf Club for giving me the ability to kind of supporting what we do here and allowing all of us to become better. Couldn't do it without all of you guys. And thank you everybody for watching this. See you guys on the course.